Welcome to the very first episode of A Minute of Truth. I've been thinking about creating something like this for a long time. Not because I have everything figured out, and definitely not because I have all the answers. I don't. The truth is, I'm still learning, I'm still healing, I'm still growing. And honestly, I think that's part of why this series matters. Because somewhere along the way, I realized something important. The moments that changed my life were not exactly the loud ones. They were the quiet ones. The moments when I stopped running from myself. The moments when I finally got honest. Not honest about everyone else, honest about me. And that's what the series is about. One honest truth at a time. Not because I have all the answers, but because I believe truth has a way of meeting us where we are. And sometimes one honest truth is enough to change the way we see ourselves. And when the way we see ourselves changes, the way we start to live changes too. So today, here's the truth. You can't hate yourself into becoming someone you love. I want you to really sit with that. Because I think a lot of us have spent years believing the opposite. We tell ourselves that if we're harder on ourselves, we'll finally change. If we criticize ourselves enough, we'll become more disciplined. If we point out every flaw, every mistake, every insecurity, then somehow we'll become better people. I used to believe that too. I thought if I could fix everything that was wrong with me, then maybe I'd finally feel worthy. Maybe I'd finally like myself. Maybe I'd finally feel like I'm enough. But the harder I was on myself, the smaller I became. I wasn't growing. I was surviving. And there's a difference. Survival says, don't mess up. Growth says it's okay to learn. Survival says, if you're not perfect, you're failing. Growth says, you're becoming. These are two very different ways to live. And most of us were never taught the difference. We were taught to perform, to push, to prove. To keep ourselves in line through pressure, shame, and constant self-correction. But shame is not the same as change. Shame might make you move. It might make you hide. It might even make you act differently for a little while. But it will not teach you how to love yourself into wholeness. It will not teach you how to become steady, honest, or free. Love does that. Truth does that. Grace does that. Think about someone you love. Maybe it's your child, your niece, or your nephew, your best friend. Someone who's trying their best. When they make a mistake, do you tell them they're a failure? Of course not. Do you tell them they'll never change? No. You remind them that one mistake does not define who they are. So, why is it so often we refuse to give ourselves the same kindness? Why is compassion something we hand out so freely to everyone else, but withhold it from ourselves? That's the one of the deepest human struggles. Sorry, I'm struggling right now. We can see the good in other people so clearly. But when it comes to ourselves, we get stuck in the version of the story built by fear, regret, and old wounds. And I think that's where healing begins. Not by avoiding responsibility, not by pretending we're perfect, not by excusing everything away, but by being honest enough to say, yes, I have things to work on. Yes, I've made mistakes. Yes, I still have growing to do. But I'm not going to bully myself into becoming a better human being. That's harm. And I don't know who needed to hear this, but maybe it's you. Maybe you've been carrying a voice inside you that sounds like criticism all day, every day. Maybe you've called it motivation. Maybe you've called it discipline. Maybe you've told yourself that if you're just hard enough on yourself, eventually you'll become the person you want to be. But what if the next version of you does not come from hatred? What if it comes from honesty? What if it comes from patience? What if it comes from a deeper kind of love? Not a soft love that ignores the truth, a real love, a grounded love, a love that says, I see what needs to change, and I'm still not abandoning myself. That kind of love is powerful. That kind of love changes lives. Because real growth does not happen because you hate who you are. It happens because you care enough about yourself to keep becoming. And becoming takes time. It takes honesty. It takes grace. It takes courage. It takes choosing again and again not to make self-hatred your motivation. So, if today feels heavy, I want to leave you with this. You don't have to hate yourself into healing. You don't have to shame yourself into becoming whole. You do not have to be cruel to yourself in order to grow. You can tell the truth and still be kind. You can take responsibility and still be gentle. You can be a work in progress and still be worthy of love right now. And maybe the question for today is, if someone you loved spoke to themselves the way you speak to yourself, what would you say to them? And then maybe try saying some of those things to yourself. Because maybe the person who needed your kindness the longest has been you. So today, if this truth resonated with you, I'd love to hear what stirred it up. Leave a comment below, not because I have all the answers, but because I believe we learn from each other. Thank you for spending these couple minutes with me. I hope you'll come back for another minute of truth. And remember, life will teach you. Life will stretch you. Life will humble you. But I hope that somewhere along the way, you remember to laugh too. Because one day, after all the lessons, after all the healing, after all the growth, I hope you can look back, smile, and realize some of it was just for shits and giggles. I'll see you next time. Bye.